Hello and welcome to Leverage Out of Lockdown. My name is Kylie Bartlett, the host of today's webinar. And before we get into it, I just want to send you out some big love and let you know that I'm thinking of you, sending you big love and hope that you're all taking care of yourself. We are in unprecedented times and some of us are depressed, lonely and isolated. And the fact that you've given up time to be on this webinar, thank you so very much. And I get a sense that you're looking for some tips and strategies that you can implement back into your business through these challenging times. So the purpose of this webinar is to connect with you, to spark some ideas for you in this environment. The process that we're going to talk about is, well, of course, we're in COVID-19, what the environment is doing as a result of that. I'm going to give you some social media tips for your small business, some opportunities for you to implement them directly back into your business. And the benefit being is that we're hoping to be able to develop your thinking and explore opportunities through these very, very challenging times. And of course, for you to know a little bit more about us and how we may be able to help you in the future. How many problems have gone unsolved because no one even knew that the solution existed? So let me give you an example. At the moment, there's a lot of problems with hand sanitizers. People cannot get hold of hand sanitizers. I was talking to a colleague 2 days ago about this problem, and he let me know that he's actually created hand sanitizers that are biodegradable and organic, and that there's no poisons going into our body. He has a real issue with the alcoholic-based sanitizers that we're using on our hands, that it's actually not good for us. Now, he's so frustrated because he has a solution to the problem, but nobody knows about it. He has no online visibility. And I guess the reason I've put the matches up is to show that we have so many ideas as small business owners, as entrepreneurs. We spark an idea, we think about it, we develop it, and then slowly but slowly, our flame goes out when we can't get it to market and make sales from it. To stay in business, people need to remember you, especially at the moment when we get out of lockdown, and hopefully it won't be too long. You want people to remember you, and the best way of doing that, we believe at Digital Talent Group, is to jump onto social media. We are currently experiencing the perfect social media storm. So at present, social media traffic is up by 60%. That's an average of 12 hours a day people are spending on social media due to retrenchments or being stood off or even working from home. The traffic is definitely spiking. What we're also finding is that there is 20% less advertisements in our newsfeed on social media. And the reason that's happening is that the big corporates, the big organizations have actually pulled their ad spend. And the great news about that is it means that our newsfeed is not full of all these ads, and we have an opportunity to connect with our target market and with our existing customers. And ads have never been so cheap. And when I talk about ads, I'm talking about Facebook ads, Instagram ads, LinkedIn ads. The prices have never been this cheap in 6 years. So as small business owners, this really is the perfect storm to take advantage of these three characteristics that we're seeing through this global pandemic. Many of us out there are really suffering. We're being self-isolated, we're in quarantine, we're keeping our 1.5 metre distance. There's loneliness occurring, there's depression, there's despair, there's apathy. A lot of people are really, really struggling through these times. And so we believe that there is no better way to build that social connection when we're being pulled apart than there is through social media. We believe more than ever social media is the key to bridging that gap between self-isolation into social connection. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I started a registered training organisation, a training college back in the 90s, and was able to scale the business and successfully leverage it and exit out of it in 2007. And then, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember, but the GFC hit in 2008, the start of 2008. So here I am now unemployed and the CEO of nothing. But I used that time to start to educate myself, and I noticed that this thing called social media was about to take off. So with social media taken off, back then it was actually MySpace. Can you believe it? Who's old enough to remember MySpace? And so I jumped on MySpace and Facebook and did whatever I can, whatever I could to learn about it, so that I could then take my old skills of being offline as a corporate trainer and pivot into online as a thought leader. And that was in 2008. And as a result, I then published a book on Facebook. I started doing social media consulting and strategy into small businesses, got on the global speaking circuit as a social media thought leader, built my own television show around helping small business to understand social media. And then just recently in July last year, I launched a digital talent group, which I'll tell you a little bit more about as we go through, but it is a social impact organisation. So I'm back into registered training organisation land. I'll explain more about that as the webinar goes on. So I guess I'm a great example. I've been through a global financial crisis and I saw that social media was a key, and now I've got social equity. I've got brand equity that I've built up over the last decade to pad me from what's going on with this current crisis that we're in. So necessity is the mother of invention. If you look back over history, you'll see that a lot of great inventions have come out of adversity and through crises. So during the World War II, penicillin was invented. During SARS, e-commerce skyrocketed, and Alibaba, who was the biggest competition to Amazon, pivoted their business and became a multi-billion-dollar company that it is today as a result of pivoting when SARS had hit us. And then just as recently as the COVID-19 virus has hit, a French luxury goods group are now producing hand sanitizers from its perfume factory. So they have pivoted as well. So leverage out of lockdown, what does it mean? Well, the word leverage means being able to achieve more with less. So we've put together a framework to help people to navigate their way through the different challenges and rises and falls that this lockdown is creating for us. So we've got an axis, a y-x axis that we'd like to explain. So first of all, we've got drive. Some people have high drive at the moment, some people have low drive. And then when you combine that with low progress and high progress, we've come up with a 4-quadrant framework to help you move through the different stages so that eventually you're able to leverage your way out of lockdown. So some of us at the moment are the procrastinator, the monkey or the person who's putting their fingers in their ears going, la, 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 I'm not listening, or hands over their eyes. And I'll be honest, I think when this COVID-19 hit a couple of weeks ago, I was the procrastinator. I was like in shock, I was numb, I was a bit of denial, it's okay, it's just a little flu. And then I started seeing it was really real. And so Netflix became my friend and I was binging on that, really procrastinating and not doing a great deal in the first couple of weeks. And then I recognized that, you know what, I think this is going to be around for a while, that I have to do something, I have to move myself forward. And so what I started doing is moving into the hibernator role, like a bear going into my cave. And whilst I wasn't publicly active outside, what I've been doing is using the time to get my backyard in order, get my books in order, do my filing, start to educate myself, start to really get clear on what I want my business to look like post lockdown. So in that, very much in that hibernation stage. So I've now got a lot of progress going on, but there's a hell of a lot of heavy lifting occurring when you're in hibernation. I'm still not, I wouldn't say in high motivation mode at the moment, but I'm certainly progressing. And so I guess I'm sharing this with you to say that none of it's good or bad. It's just where you're at. What we're hoping is that you don't stay in procrastination too long and that you're able to progress through the different stages to ultimately getting yourself out of lockdown. So now we've progressed, we've got our backyard in order, we've got our books in order, we've started to get a strategy together. Now what we're doing is we're moving into the regenerator. And here is where we see high drive. We've done a lot of the heavy lifting in the progress stage, and now we've got the drive, the motivation, the commitment to start letting the world know who we are post this COVID-19. And then ultimately, because of all the work that we've done in getting our backyard in order, we've repositioned, repackaged ourselves, this is when you really start to leverage and get out of lockdown. So we've used this, I guess, map, not to judge but more as for you to have a barometer reading on where you're sitting now. And just as importantly, a pathway of what you can be doing to move yourself out of this so that at the end you are out of lockdown, both yourself physically, but also your business. So we've got 3 steps for getting you out of lockdown and getting you up into that top quadrant, which is obviously being leveraged. First of all, we need to have a plan. And from the plan, we then need to pivot into our current times with the COVID-19. And then, of course, we've got to start to publish content to let our existing and potentially new customers know what our business is doing. So let me break this down and explain it in a bit more detail too. So first of all, plan, start with the end in mind. Now, it might sound like common knowledge, but what I'm seeing is a lot of uncommon practice. We need to have a plan in place, and the plan that we had pre-coronavirus is not going to work in the current climate. So if you put garbage in, and I mean garbage into a plan, but even garbage into your social media, you are going to get garbage out the other end. So your plan is very much going to determine your success or failure with social media. So I'm going to take you through how you actually start to create quality content so that you get a quality outcome from it. So if you're in hibernation mode, if you're the bear in the cave getting your backyard in order, here's some tips and some strategies that you could be using right now. So I'd like you to have a think about, if you don't actually want to be active creating new content on social media because you are in that hibernation phase, and that is completely fine to do that because your business has been suspended or it's been shut down and you just need a little bit of breathing space before you resurrect and go out to the outside world. Here's some things that I'd like you to think about. So what can you repurpose content-wise that you may have already been using on social media that hasn't got a use-by date that would be valuable and applicable today? So that's what I mean by evergreen content. You might have written some blogs or some videos or some quotes or imagery that is still very much current today. I've launched a new web-based TV show called DTG TV, but some of the videos that I'm releasing are videos that I shot 12, 18 months, even 2 years ago because they're evergreen, they're still current today. So that's what I'm doing while I'm in hibernation mode, kind of bringing out some old content and repurposing it. Communicate, communicate, communicate. I can't say this enough. You need to be communicating with your past clients, but also your existing. Now's a time while you're in hibernation to start to bring a customer relationship management system into your business, a CRM. Now, there's one that's free. It's great for small business called Insightly that you'll see on the screen there. For those of you that are not using an email management system, you may have heard of a company called MailChimp. MailChimp, it manages your list and your email marketing, and they have a free version. So I'd encourage you to go and have a look at MailChimp so you can be regularly communicating and sending out emails to your database. Now, observing is really, really important as well. You can't take your finger off the pulse. Whilst you're in voyeur mode or in hibernation mode, please don't shut yourself down to listening to what's going on. You need to be observing. And Google has some great free tools that you can use to do just that. So there's Google Analytics that you could have attached to your website to see what kind of traffic you're getting. There's Google Trends. You can set up Google Trends to see what words are being searched, what words are not being searched. And lastly, there's Google Alerts, where you can set up alerts when someone's mentioning your business or mentioning your niche, so that you get an alert from Google when these conversations are happening online, so that you're constantly in the know whilst you're in hibernation. And lastly, there has never, ever, ever been a better time to get educated and to do a self-audit and to bring yourself up to speed on some of these tools I'm talking about, like Insightly and MailChimp. In fact, I created a proprietary diagnostic tool to help people do a self-audit. So if you go across to kyliebartlett.com and you'll see a banner and you click on the banner that says Social Media Road Test, you can actually take yourself through a 60-question self-diagnostic that will give you kind of a reading of where you are in terms of your digital footprint, and it prints out a report at the end of it. So I highly encourage you to go do that. Find out where you're lacking in skills, where your technological competencies are low, and start upgrading them whilst you're in hibernation. Companies like MailChimp have a great virtual video learning university where you can start to educate yourself for free on some of these tools that I've been talking about. So for those of you that are the regenerators, you've already kind of gone through getting your backyard in order, and now you're starting to pivot and wanting to regenerate. And this is, you've done all the heavy lifting, I guess, like a caterpillar before it becomes a butterfly. It's gone through the hard yards, and now you are ready. You've got high drive, high motivation. Here are some things that I encourage you to have a look at. Low-hanging fruit. What have you got in your business in terms of your assets, your services, products that you could take to market by repackaging them and getting them out there straight away, that they don't need research and development time behind the scenes, that you can start to get out to market now? Also, a lot of us as small business owners and entrepreneurs, we are sitting on a mountain of value. We forget how much knowledge and wisdom that we have, and it mightn't have been used for a period of time. I'm asking you to think about your wisdom and how can you now start to add value. I can't reiterate enough the importance of adding value on social media right now. So if you've got old techniques or tools or wisdom or strategies that we could be using, get it out there in the form of a template or a checklist or a downloadable ebook, because our news feeds at the moment and social media, there's a lot of doom and gloom. And I know for a fact that if you can start to give some great quality content, that people will be delighted to receive it from you. So I'd look at also enlisting the help of freelancers. Now, because a lot of people have been laid off, there is a whole heap of great talent available around the world that we could be taking advantage of. So 3 sites in particular that I encourage you to have a look at is Fiverr, Upwork and Airtasker, where people can be putting their skills or setting up a profile page of what they specialize in, and we can be hiring them on an ad hoc, an hour or a project base. And some of the pricing out there is super, super cheap. So as small business owners, let's look at how we can use some freelancers, but it also helps those that may have lost their job that are now freelancing, that we can get them to help us in our business. Communication. Now we're seeing so many people working from home, using Zoom like I am today, using FaceTime. Even the Australian federal government have set up a WhatsApp group for us to be kept in the know of the developments around COVID-19. Start to learn how to use these and communicate through these mediums. A lot of people now are used to getting Facebook messages, WhatsApp messages, FaceTime, where you actually can see your customer rather than just talking to them. Get used to using these communication tools. Hootsuite is a fantastic social media tool for automating your social media. And of course, I want you to start to communicate across social media. I'll give you a bit of a plan of how to do that as we go through the webinar. So the second stage is around pivoting. Now, what I'm not suggesting is that you lose sight of your vision or your purpose, but it's about changing your strategy without having to change your vision. I'm assuming you've set up your business because you're passionate about it, you're good at it, you have a purpose, it is your vision. So I want to talk about how can we just slightly change our strategy and product offerings without losing sight of our actual vision. So I want to take you through a couple of my clients that have what they were doing in the past and what they're doing now to pivot, to give you a frame of reference, to spark some ideas, to give you an opportunity to think about how could you start to pivot in your business. So one of my very first clients was Truffle Duck. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was doing their social media management and strategy with them down in beautiful Geelong, which is where I'm originally from. And so Truffle Duck are very much a traditional wedding, events, catering, hiring company. They have a physical premises down in beautiful Geelong. Now, since Corona virus, they have now pivoted and are offering no need to duck out menus. Now, I thought that was so clever that they've used the word duck. And you'll notice that they're actually now got these survival packs. They've got a full kitchen, so they're now utilising their kitchen and being able to give people food at home, so that that's a part of their pivoting. So Edwards & Co. Jay Edwards, one of Australia's most famous hairdressers in the past. He was doing people's hair in the salons. Pivot. Now he's actually showing people how to colour their own hair and blow dry their own hair at home. He's doing YouTube clips and he's putting these self-care, hair care packages together. Great pivot. Beautiful Ziggy. I used to work with Ziggy many years ago. He's a traditional financial planner. In the last week, he's pivoted and he started bringing out daily videos, financial tips during the coronavirus. Great example of pivoting. Hedge End Maze up in beautiful Hillsville, one of our gorgeous clients. They have an incredible maze, a physical facility where corporates and birthday parties and kids parties can come and go through the maze. Now, obviously with Corona being here, then we're all in lockdown, like their maze is not being used. So they're pivoting. Lee, who owns Hedge End, she was originally a school teacher and is very big on experiential learning. So now what we're doing is we're creating these templates that parents and grandparents can download to help their kids with homeschooling. So what she's doing, she's actually going out in the garden, showing how to find an ant or a beetle or a bug or a spider. So she's using her physical premises, videoing it, putting it online for parents to be able to use this for homeschooling. An incredible example of pivoting. So now we're up to publish, what I call kind of the pointy end of your social media strategy. And it's very much true. It's around give and you shall receive. How can you be constantly giving to the community without expecting something back initially, but it will end up coming back? So let me explain what this means. I'm a firm believer that if you develop really, really good quality content, remember, not the garbage in, garbage out, that it will then attract a really strong quality community. And one thing I know about online tribes and fans and a community is fans go out and recruit fans. So it's a little bit like having your own little letterbox droppers that once they love your content and they're digesting it, fans tend to go out and say, come and join this Facebook group, come and follow this company on Instagram. So it's like having really like someone dropping letters in the mail into people's letterboxes, and they're doing it for you for free. They become your own little sales reps. And so eventually you will reap the currency from it. My advice, though, and what I'm seeing is that the challenge is that people are creating content, they're doing it for a couple of days, and then they're going, I didn't get a return on investment. And so they stop doing it. That is the worst thing you could be doing, especially right now for those of you in hibernation mode. You have got plenty of time to start to map out what that quality content looks like, and do not stop. I know it's hard when cash is tight and everything's vying for our attention, but if I could just plead with you, do not stop your social media, or start on social media right now, because it's never been a better opportunity to do that. Now, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be having these stimulus packages that are going to hit our bank accounts. I think they start in the end of April and the start of May. People are going to end up having cash in their bank accounts, and they'll be looking to spend it. They're going to end up spending it with people that they have built a connection with online through social media. So there's enough evidence as an example of why you need to either continue with your social or start to jump on your social. So I guess the good thing about social media is that it's a great medium to get our message out there. The bad thing about social media is that everyone's trying to do it. Quality content is what's going to give you your cut through. So I encourage you to sit down, might be by yourself or with your team, and start to map out what is your unique selling proposition. What is it that you're going to be famous for that's very different to everyone else, that people are going to want to see, and when they see it, they take notice of it and then do something different or buy from you as a result. So what is going to be your draw card? Is it going to be your products, your services, your wisdom? Are you going to start maybe producing podcasts where you can interview experts on it? I mean, the list goes on of all these different ways that you can be adding value, and what is going to be different about you. I guess social media, whilst it's a great medium to start advertising and selling, if you haven't got brand equity, people are going to see that as spam. So you have to have something more in stock than just buy my products, buy my services. And that's where what is going to be that unique selling proposition, and how can you start to create content that's going to be of value that eventually people will buy from. I mean, also suggesting that you give away your secret sauce. Yes, you read correct, your secret herbs and spices. There's two thoughts here. Some people will say, no, why would I give away my secret herbs and spices, because then people will do it themselves. And then there's others that have got a very much an abundant mentality where they want to be able to give as much as possible. One of the things that I do know about humans, and that is that the more that you give them, the more that they want you to do it for them. That's why the personal training industry does so well. We all know how to run around the block. We all know how to do a sit-up, but we want someone to do it with us. And so that's why if you've got some secrets or some tips or ways that people can save time and money, like I guess like Jay Edwards, he's now teaching women in particular how to apply their own hair color and their own dye. The salon industry has gone crazy that he's done that, because they're all thinking that when salons open, people won't be coming and rushing back in the door. because they're doing their own hair. That is not what will happen. We will end up going back into salons. So I'm not sure what kind of business you're in, but have a think about your treasures that could really solve some problems now and get it out there in the marketplace. So let's talk about planning your content. So if social media is your marketing machine, producing quality content is what's going to fuel it. Now, this is the bit that most people get stuck on. So they know that they need to get on social media, but they have no idea what they're going to say or how to do it or how to keep up with thinking of something that's going to go into the newsfeed every day. I have a lot of people say to me, especially when I'm speaking on stage doing a keynote, people will say, but Kylie, isn't that spamming if we are producing content and putting it on social media every day? Aren't people going to get sick of it? I know, I block people when they're putting content every day. And my response to that is, well, if the content's shit, I'll be blocking it too. So it all comes down to the quality content. If you are producing quality content, then people will actually start sourcing it or looking for it in their newsfeed because they're really enjoying it. I'd also like you to have a think about, if you watch the news at night, and at the moment it's all doom and gloom, but there is a framework or a sequence that they follow. So it usually starts with breaking news, we go global news, national news, local news, and it has sport and weather and finance. There is a framework to it. So what I want to step you through now is that in social media, we use a very similar layout to mapping out our content. We use a formula that we know internally, and then we use that to have a regular sequence or a pattern in the way that we are drip feeding our content. So let me explain what it looks like. This is where most people say, too hard basket, I just can't produce content every day. And I want to tell you a little bit about my current business, my new startup, and then put it into the context of how we can help you map out your content. So I've just launched Digital Talent Group. And so we are a social impact organisation and an RTO, so a training college RTO, that employs unemployed youth. We then certify them and skill them up in the Diploma of Social Media Marketing. And then we hire them out to small businesses as social media managers, or as we like to call them, digital tradies. So just like you would call a plumber to fix your leaky tap, you can now call a digital tradie to plug your social media hole. I thought it was important that I let you know what Digital Talent Group does, because now when I show you how to map out the content, of course you can do it yourself if you've got time on your hands, but if you don't want to do it yourself, we have digital tradies on board that can do that for you. Okay, so take a deep breath. What I'm about to show you is going to look like busy and it's going to look hard. I'm going to step you through it, and in the end, I'm hoping that it's going to give you the motivation to then go and launch your social media plan throughout your social media channels. Okay, so we're going to use HedgeEnd here as an example. So HedgeEnd was the client that I showed you that's got the beautiful maze in Hillsville. And so this is what we've mapped out for them over 30 days. So let me take you through it. I'm just going to move my little panel out of the way so I can see it better. Okay, so you'll see on Mondays, we're showcasing parts of the maze. So we're exposing the brand on social media. On a Tuesday, we're showing corporate team building. So they have paintball skirmish at HedgeEnd, and they also have a lot of corporate team building activities. So on a Tuesday, we're starting to showcase the corporate side of the business. So on Wednesday, we're showing what's on the Yarra Ranges. So where HedgeEnd is, it belongs to the Yarra Ranges down in Victoria. So content can't always be about yourself. It's about curating content and having a bigger view on how can I also be showcasing or putting the spotlight on other businesses that I work around. So every Wednesday, we showcase a business or an attraction in the Yarra Ranges. And the reason we're doing that is that if people eventually come to HedgeEnd, they can actually map out things that they can do when they go there. And so on a Thursday, we are showing school holidays and holiday programs. So this is where we're going to be using a lot of those downloadable templates for mums and dads and grandparents to be able to entertain their kids on school holidays. Now, of course, this is February's content calendar, and this is when school holidays were still going ahead. But at the moment, we're now taking that online, but still being able to use people's gardens to use as their own HedgeEnd maze. On Fridays, we're showcasing functions and birthdays and engagements to show that that's also what HedgeEnd does. And then on Friday, we've got what we call Sustainable Saturdays. And so Lee has created an avatar or a character that she calls Sustainable Sally. And so every Saturday we show how to recycle and renew and have sustainability in our homes. And then on Sunday we have weddings. So as you can see there, this is a great example of a 30-day content calendar, and you'll see we've got week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4 kind of mapped out. Now, this is not to say that you're going to do all of it now and then you set and forget and don't have to be in real time, but this is going to take a lot of your heavy lifting away when you can get organized and that you start to set up a routine in the way that you're doing your daily social media. But of course, when things pop up or you want to keep it real, you want to have the opportunity then to post in real time so that it doesn't look like it was all premeditated, which, you know, the public are going to be able to tell if it's premeditated. And so you'll see there, everything's been mapped out. You yourself, it gives you a reminder if you're the one doing your own social media, what you're going to do on what day, or if we're doing it, for example, then it has our digital tradies all organized. Okay, so now here's one we prepared earlier. Let me take you to the next. Oh. Okay, so what we've got here looks a bit busy, and I guess it's going to be a little bit small on your screen, but what we've done here is we've mapped out the content over 30 days. You'll see on this map that we've got the photo that goes with it, we've got the hashtags, we've got the emoticons, we've got the captions. And so this takes a bit of time to map out, but those of you in hibernation, you could be doing this right now. So our digital tradies, they spend about a day a month really getting clear on what they're going to do before they then go and post it on social media. But I'm hoping you can see by mapping it out, it kind of takes that overwhelm away of what the hell am I going to be saying when I do get onto social media. You'll notice this is very visual. So this is an example of what we're doing on Instagram. This could also go on Facebook. You might want to tweak the captions and the hashtags for LinkedIn because it's a little bit more professional. I mean, we're doing videos as well that go into Instagram stories. We've set up a YouTube channel. So this is just one great example of a way of mapping out your social media. So I want to talk about the top 5 takeaway tips. So I've gone through quite a lot of content quite quickly today. Now I'm going to drill down and I guess get you to take some notes on what are you going to do differently as a result of what we've gone through today. So first of all, I want you to find the opportunities to leverage out of lockdown. Your ultimate goal should be to get out of lockdown as soon as possible. What do you need to put in place to make that happen? And I know that some of you are still in that procrastination stage, and that's okay. Just know that until you kind of move into getting your backyard in order, nothing's going to change for you. When you do get into that high progress, but still your motivation's down, you can be doing so much behind the scenes, as I said, getting that paperwork together. Some people are not even, haven't even automated their bookkeeping and accounting. You know, jump onto Xero and QuickBooks and get in the cloud and start to get that in order. Now is a great time. Also, you know, you might have physical premises that you want to physically renovate. Now would be a good time to do that, knowing that the quicker you get your backyard in order, you're going to clear the deck. I'm a firm believer that a messy desk leads to a messy mind. What can you be doing to clear the deck so that when you get into that regenerator stage or regenerator phase, that you've got a nice blank canvas to look at what you're going to do differently to pivot in your business. Okay, secondly, socialize your enterprise. Yes, social media, of course. If you haven't been on social throughout this period over the last 2 to 3 weeks since we've all been in lockdown, be vulnerable, be real, jump online and explain why you've been kind of missing in action and start to ramp it up again. Or you might be one of those businesses that has really not gone and done anything on social media, and now's a perfect opportunity. As I said, you've got that blank canvas to really get some traction and get some cut through on social media with the usage up to 60%. You know, again, if it's overwhelming you thinking about going on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and TikTok, and now we've got House Party and all these different apps that are coming out, my advice is start with one. I'd much prefer to see you do one really, really well than to do all of them averagely. So sit down again. You really need to have an understanding of who your target market is, who have been your past customers, who are you wanting to attract in the future, and go and use those observation tools, those listening tools to see where your target market is hanging out. And if it's in Instagram, which is very much a B2C platform, if you're a personal trainer, a florist, a cook, anything that's B2C, retail, hospitality, travel, then that would be the platform that I would be encouraging you to go on. And I just thought of something there about travel, because I've got a lot of travel clients that obviously are really hurting at the moment. So let me give you some tips on that. Obviously, none of us are allowed to travel both domestically and internationally at the moment. So if you are in the travel industry, I would be encouraging you to be doing posts on your dream holidays in the future, and sharing great holidays and great photography that you've taken in the past, and caption it or contextualize it that this is the first place I'm going to go when we get out of quarantine or lockdown, so that you can be still keeping something current in the newsfeed. I know that the travel industry has been hit hard, but start to inspire us and think about what it's going to be like when we can go to Greece when we get out of lockdown, or Italy or Spain. So you obviously need to do it with sensitivity, because there's a lot of suffering going on, in particular in those countries that I just mentioned. But again, getting evergreen content that you may have posted in the past, and start to instigate conversations, like even writing to your Instagram community or Facebook community, what are going to be the top 10 things you're going to put on your travel list or your bucket list when we all get to go and travel again. So yeah, socializing your enterprise. LinkedIn at the moment, my goodness, I'm probably getting the best traction through LinkedIn, because now a lot of employees that are working from home have been encouraged to go and ramp up their LinkedIn profiles. So yes, if you're in a B2B or a financial services, professional services, LinkedIn is where I would be going at the moment. Okay, so technology is your best friend. I can't reiterate this enough. A lot of the big tech brands like Facebook, Google, YouTube, I mentioned Hootsuite, they have all actually created their own micro credentials, or they've got their own little mini universities where you can log on and start to watch video tutorials on how to use some of these pieces of technology. We can't escape it. Technology is a part of our life, and it is very much going to be a part of our life in the future. Like just like using Zoom. I was playing with Zoom a couple of days ago, and I saw a feature that you can upload a different backdrop so that people don't see what you've got going on in the background when you're working from home. I think that's what Ziggy, my friend Ziggy, has done with his financial services videos. I've noticed that his background's been changing every time he's doing a video. So again, another great little tip. You don't need to go and rearrange your furniture at home. You can start to use backdrops, but the only way you're going to find out is by going and learning how to use technology a bit more. Strategy. Start with the end in mind. Really, like you would never build a house without a set of architectural plans, and yet a lot of people are going on to social media and it's ending up looking like the house that Jack built. You need to have a strategic plan, and if you don't know how to even map one out, then we can help you through that. That is what we specialize in, because going onto social media without the plan, it's going to be stop start, it's going to feel arduous, it's going to feel really hard. You need to have that plan in place that includes what you're pivoting and includes your vision and your purpose. And then, which leads me into pivoting with purpose. Please don't lose sight of why you went into business in the first place, or what your passion is, or what your specialty is. I'm not for a moment suggesting that pivoting means throwing your business baby out with the bathwater. It's getting really creative and very clever around, how can we keep our vision and our purpose front and center, but just maybe tweak it in a way that allows us to take advantage of this the crisis that we're going through. I was watching the news last night, and 4 Pillars, which is one of my favourite gins here in Victoria, they've pivoted and they're now producing hand sanitizer to make use of their factory. Now, they haven't lost sight of what they specialise in, but for now they've pivoted and done that. There's a couple of companies that were making, I think it might have even been, I saw it on the news last night, making toys that are now making face masks. So what is it that you can be doing to just pivot for now, rather than sitting here and waiting for things to go back to the way they used to be? There's also a lot of chefs out there. I've been really enjoying it. What's the guy, Colin, of not Master Chef, what's the other one? My Kitchen Rules. So I follow Colin on Instagram and Facebook, and he's now been going, because his restaurant's called 14, it's in Surrey Hills in Sydney. He obviously can't be in his restaurant. So now he's set up a YouTube channel with his kids that are cooking in the kitchen and teaching us how to cook. And I think it's a fantastic idea that he's pivoting. He's showing us how to cook, but he hasn't lost sight of what he specialises in, and that's, you know, being a chef. I did also promise that I would give you a copy of my book, which is Facebook Friends with Benefits, a cheeky 5-step strategy for growing your business with Facebook. So I am going to, for anyone that has been on this webinar, you will be sent a link with the ebook attachment that you can watch through Kindle. And again, I wrote this book a number of years ago, but because it's so strategic and it's not about tactics, it's still very much as applicable today as it was when I wrote it 3 or 4 years ago. If you really enjoyed the content mapping and coming up with the different categories that you're going to post on every day, then in my book, I actually mapped this out as well. One of the things I didn't talk about in detail, which I do in my book, and that is around video. I think video is the closest thing to us feeling like we're getting a connection with you. In the book, I give you some tips and some strategies for creating video. They don't have to be long videos. For those of you that have been following me for a while, you'll know that originally I even were doing these 15-second videos, and then I took them to 60 seconds, and now I'm doing videos that last for about 2 minutes. But video needs to be a part of your social media strategy. And if you're sitting there wondering, well, you know, what do I even put on a video? I'm going to ask you to get a pen and paper out, and I want you to write down the 10 most frequently asked questions that you constantly get asked in your business, and 10 should have asked questions that you wish you got asked. So I'm calling them 10 FAQs and 10 SAQs. And then what you do is you actually record videos on the answers to those 20 questions. And so even if you only posted a video once a week, you've got 20 weeks worth of content just by doing that. Now that is in my book as well. I talk about all the different forms of content, from blogging to podcasting to videos to putting up quotes and memes. So please be sure when I send you out a copy of my book that you download it, and it'll go into a lot more detail around some of the strategies that I've been talking about on this webinar. So if you've found this to be useful, and now that you know you need to be doing social media a lot more, I've given you some great tips and some strategies for you to do it yourself. And I think that everyone is capable of doing it. It's just whether you want to be able to do it. So in the future, if you would even just like an hour discussion with me, I call it the Hour of Power with Kylie, you're more than welcome to book in and just have that 1 hour session with me where we can make it very applicable to your business. We can sit there and strategize around what your social media might look like in the future. Also, if you want to do it yourself, I'm in the process of setting up what I'm calling a social media mastermind group on Facebook, where you'll have access to me. I'll be going in there and doing some live videos and really helping you create your strategy and coming up with your content so that you can do it yourself. And so you kind of have a little bit of a lifeline. I'm going to be on there on a regular basis, helping people that would rather do it themselves. So for those of you that are in that kind of hibernation mode, where you've got time on your hands, then maybe this might be an option for you, where I can help you through it and you can do your own social media. And then, of course, the third option is, well, we can do it for you. I didn't go into a lot of detail about our digital tradies, but what I love about Digital Talent Group is that it does have a social impact element to it. We are very much looking to reduce youth unemployment. And at the moment, with unemployment being so high, thanks to COVID-19, our youth need us more than ever. And so we want to be able to employ these young kids. They are born digital. They're born with a iPhone in their hand. They intuitively get the digital world. The problem is they don't have a lot of business skills. They haven't had enough time on this earth to actually build up their business skills. So imagine if there was a beautiful ecosystem where we're taking on these digital tradies, we're training them up, they get certified, they get a diploma in social media, and then we hire them out to small business where they'll get an opportunity to practice their skills that they've got from learning. So if you think that a digital tradie could be an option for you, then we of course have that done for you opportunity, that done for you service as well, where the content calendar that we showed you, plus all of the posts being mapped out, our digital tradies can do that for you. So all you need to do is really just email me, kylie@digitaltalentgroup.com.au. Send me an email, say you'd like to talk more, and then I'll give you access to my online content calendar. I use Candly. I encourage you to have a look at Candly, where you can send out links for people to book into your calendar, and we can have a one-on-one conversation and talk about tailoring some solutions that might be able to assist you moving forward. So there is no doubt that we are going through and have been going through really tough, stormy weather. Some are riding that storm a lot better than others. One of the things that I really want to leave you on is to think about that this is the new normal. People are saying, oh, but it'll all be okay when life goes back to the way that it used to be. That is not going to happen. This is now the new normal. Even when we get out of lockdown, people will still be working from home. They'll still be using Zoom. They will still be on social media. They will be using all of these tools that I've been talking about, Dropbox and WhatsApp and FaceTiming. They will become the new normal. So please, 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 I encourage you to not talk about when things go back to the way they are. You will stay in procrastination and you won't evolve and be able to leverage out of lockdown. They are stormy conditions. But one thing I do know about storms is that if you look up, there is a rainbow that is being shone down from the sun. There is going to be rainbows that are going to come out of these storms that will produce pots of gold for you, but you need to learn how to look up. You need to take this seriously, and you need to start to be putting a plan in place to get you out of lockdown. You need to leverage. For those of you that would like to come and hang out with me a bit more on social media, here is our social media handles. We are on social media every day, in particular now, answering questions and helping people through these times. I also have created a web-based little short 2-minute TV show called DTG TV. Once a week, I am also releasing videos. Even if you just have got any questions that you want to ask me, go on social media, send me a private message on Facebook or Instagram, and I will be sure to answer them, whether it's in a private message to you, or I might even answer them on the video so other people are able to also take advantage of the questions that you're asking. I hope that you have found this to be a very useful 45 minutes, an hour of your time. It has been recorded. Every person will get a copy of the recording so that you can go back over and start to look up some of those tools that I mentioned. And once again, please stay safe, be positive, and I look forward to seeing you leverage out of lockdown. Until I see you again, bye for now. Thanks for your time.